This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1685, Comic Talk!
Laser beams, opinions like the seasons on everything you read in comics, movies, games, toys, artists, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek, uniting the world's mightiest heroes. This is...
I'm Brian Chrisman.
I'm Shane Kelly.
I'm Adam Murdo.
And I'm Chris Everly.
What's that, Shane?
I'm Shane Kelly. These dumb shirts I have on don't hold the microphone well.
All right.
Oh, that's better.
And welcome to the show. This will be a comic talk where we go all over the place, some discussion, but there will actually be some talk on certain comics.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I know we're going to at least talk about maybe some detail. Well, Doomsday Clock number 2.
Probably
Yes.
spoilers.
Yeah, so spoilers. So forewarned is forearmed, as I like to say here at the show. But first, before we get into the fun and frivolity and fellowship, a word from our sponsor. This episode of Comic Geek Speak is brought to you by the Denver Independent Comics and Art Expo, also known as DINK. You can check them out at dinkdenver.com. This is a convention held out, obviously, in Denver, Colorado, sort of run by our good friend Charlito from the Indie Spinner Rack podcast, better known as perhaps his real name, Charlie LaGreca. We know him as Charlito.
Yeah, we do.
So a little bit about DINK. It's now in its third year. It seeks to showcase the sequential arts, comic books, graphic novels, small press, zines, design, and alternative art forms as part of a well-crafted 2-day nationally recognized exhibition and celebration of the independent spirit. DINK brings together the creative community of comics, art, tattoo art, urban street art, and fans to promote and highlight their cultural impact, diversity, and relevance in the world. This is Charlito's sort of like baby. You know, he's, of course, Indie Spinner podcast with him and Mr. Fu also is taking part in the running of the show.
Happy to hear it.
They're doing a show, and it's happened in the third year out in Denver, Colorado, happening Saturday and Sunday, April 14th and 15th. They've got all kinds of creators and publishers, mostly independent publishers there. But they do have a couple of, right at this point, special guests announced. Two people who you may be familiar with, Jeff Lemire and Matt Kint, who sort of are a crossover, if you will, from independent to mainstream.
So perfect for the tone they're trying to strike with this convention.
But yeah, again, it's happening, like I said, the 14th and 15th of April at the McNichols Civic Center building in Denver, Colorado. You can go again to Denver, D-I-N-K, Denver.com to get your tickets. For a weekend pass, it's $20. But if you're a student, 17 under, tickets are free.
Ooh.
Yes, exactly. So we'll be talking more about them in the future because they have some other award things going on. But check them out at dinkdenver.com. All right. Again, please, guys, if you have anything to jump into, please do. I want to give a plug, however, speaking of podcasters, to another podcaster friend of ours, Dr. Eamon Clark, perhaps better known as Caliban on the forums. Of course, he's over in the UK and a big fan of 2000 AD. And his podcast is called the Mega City Book Club podcast. You can check it out at megacitybookclub.blogspot.co.uk. And he just did an episode, actually episode 57, called Gaze into the Fist of Dread. When I was over at the London convention last year, I talked to Eamon, and he actually interviewed me for his podcast. It was very brief, and thank God he edited around my goofiness. He gave me like one line to read, and I took like 5 takes to do it. But he was getting creators to talk about their favorite moments in the last 40 years of 2000 AD. And one of my favorite moments is the image called Gaze to the Fist of Dread, where, Dread punches the judge there, and it's a well-known image. Eamon was wearing the T-shirt of that image at the time we spoke, and we got done with our brief interview, and he told me that he wants to track down the original page and maybe do a show around that. but he says it might be water check down. And I said to him, I know who owns that page. I know the guy who owns it. He goes, oh, really? So I hooked him up. The man's name is Chris Kyra. He's actually a lawyer out in the Chicago area, and it tells his story. Well, let him tell the story. Listen to episode 57. It's all about how we got the page from Brian Boland and other artwork, and it's a great interview. And Eamon does. I was very happy to help Eamon out. He told me I was like a big quest, and like boom, there you go, pants. All good.
That's awesome.
So check that out. megacitybookclub.blogspot.co.uk. Just recently, DC Comics has announced their solicitations for April. Have you guys heard about the Action Comics 1000 issue?
Yes. I know what the cover looks like and what's coming back.
They're bringing back the red trunks.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I did see something about that on Facebook, come to think of it.
Yeah,
It actually was on Jamal Eigel's feed.
Yeah, that's probably where I saw it from, too.
Yeah, well, there was Entertainment Weekly put out a brief article on it last week, and it hits comic stores April 18th, the 80th anniversary of the first appearance on newsstands of Action Comics #1.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but it's got a Jim Lee cover, and he's bringing the red trunks back.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I was going to miss him as much as I did, but it's always looked odd to me, that red belt he's had since, the end of Flashpoint and Justice
Yeah.
League
He looks
#1.
half-dressed.
Yeah, it just looked...
It looks awkward.
It looks
just looks
odd to me, and
Yeah.
you can argue back and forth. That's not what we're here about. I'm happy to see him back. It's what I know him as for all these years, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think the same
And
way.
it's a nice tip of the hat to Superman's sort of sartorial origins, because I think Murd would back me up here. A lot of his design was originally based on sort of like circus strongmen almost, right, Murd?
Yeah,
Or-
absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that trunks was always part of that type of look.
And of course, he's also announced some of the content inside. There'll be a Brian Michael Bendis story. Tom King's writing a story.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yes.
And Marv Wolfman is writing a story based on previously unseen Kurt Swan artwork.
Wow.
Wow.
There's also a Siegel and Schuster story that hasn't been seen before. That they're pretty sure it's Siegel and Schuster. They've tried to do some tracking down of some of the checks that were cashed in for that work.
Wow.
But yeah, looking forward to that.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm excited for that. And I think I did end up ordering that hardcover thing too to go through that. It just seemed like something cool.
Okay. Moving on, I have not one, not two, but three references to our favorite number, 52.
I know one of them.
First of all,
The whole world knows one of them.
Yeah.
Super Bowl 52 is coming up in less than 2 weeks from now. We're in the Philadelphia area here.
Yeah.
You want to get a rising? Want to do the fight song?
I'm willing.
Do you know who wrote the fight song?
I forget. Remind me.
Arlen Saylor.
And who he is?
He was the music director at Boyertown, where I went to school.
Oh, nice. Like 1960, I think you wrote.
Yeah, yeah. I know the name very well. Of course, he was not there when I was there, but his name is very well known all the time I was at school. So that was kind of. I did not know that before. I just saw it in the paper.
I'm going to bear with us here, listeners. Okay. On a 1, 2,
I don't know
3.
the song.
Fly, Eagles, fly, on the road to victory. Fly, Eagles, fly, score a touchdown, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hit 'em low, hit 'em high, and watch our Eagles fly. Fly, Eagles, fly, on the road to victory. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles!
You heard it here first, folks.
Oh, man.
And meanwhile, our very own Matt is a Patriots fan.
Yes.
So CGS may be a house divided.
Oh, it is.
Well, I've already invited myself to his place for a Super Bowl party.
Invited yourself.
I did.
I didn't think he could resist having his Eagles friends over just to have them at point-blank range to gloat.
It'll be an interesting time. So.
If Tom Brady pulls it off yet again.
I hope not.
So yes, forgive us our little fun there. Also want to recap on our last episode. We had a somewhat controversial Muddle the Murd entry.
Somewhat.
And the league office, the National Muddle League, almost stepped in But they're on the forum. So actually, the young man who Adam on the forums, and I'm going to fill in the blanks here for everybody.
Oh, sure. Adam Sams is his name. He lives up in New Brunswick, and he actually came right on the forums the very day we released that episode, and personally apologized. I don't think he knew the strength of the questions he was asking, and so he offered a gentleman's apology, which I of course accepted, and he got his prize all the same.
Yes.
So, but in the future, though, folks, please pull those punches a little bit. I mean, I know I asked for harder questions, but there are certain unwritten lines of conduct that should not be crossed. And asking for the names of one-off little characters from old sci-fi anthologies is probably on the wrong side of those lines. So. Word to the wise.
But anyway, so that was very nice.
But no harmed feelings between my fellow Adam and myself. And
Okay.
He should have his Stéphane Roux Zatanna drawing probably by now.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, that was part 1 for 52. Part 2 just came down with the solicit. So I'm going to read this to you, Adam. Kurt Busiek, Brett Anderson, and Alex Ross's long-running Astro City title will be ending with April 18th issues number 52.
Wow.
But that doesn't mean the series is over. They will be bringing back the series in graphic novel form going forward. More details to come.
Right. And I think the first of those is going to be it's either the last story arc in the ongoing series or the first story in graphic novel form, but it'll be a follow-up to Astro City number 1/2, The Nearness of You.
Oh, which you've gone on and on about.
Oh, yes. It's one of my, when we did our top 5 single-issue stories, that was high on my list.
Yes.
And it's related to alternate reality and crisis-type reality-altering stories. Mm-hmm. And there was accompanying Alex Ross artwork showing the main character of that story dancing with his wife, who was retconned out of existence by such an event in the Astro City universe, with a big crisis-like chain of identical globes sort of waving in front of him in the foreground. That's... I actually saw this on listener Chris Mosby's Facebook feed, so thanks to him for posting that. And like Chris said on his own Facebook page, I will support this series no matter what format it appears in. So I will definitely buy those Astro City graphic novels when they appear. Happy to give Mr. Busiek and Mr. Anderson and company my custom as long as they continue putting out a quality product. And really, I'm willing to do that for any Kurt Busiek written product at this point, really, because his output is... slowed to such a trickle, and it hasn't diminished in quality that I can see.
And I wanted to mention that Nearness of You is one of the most poignant one-done stories I've ever read in my comic book reading life. It's the pathos in that. It's a masterpiece. And also, I want to acknowledge that I think Kurt Busiek is just getting ahead of the curve here by switching his title to graphic novel or trade paperback format.
That's a good point.
I was going to ask what you guys thought of that.
Well, I think it's eventually inevitable for much of the medium, because I don't see how they can possibly sustain the monthly floppy format, going into the future. I mean, I've said this before. I'm not saying it as sour grapes as a full retailer. I just think it's economic reality. So, here to Mr. Busiek.
Yeah. And finally, the third part of our 52 trilogy. Just a few weeks ago, actually on April 10th, I believe it was.
April 10th?
No, I'm sorry, April 12th was the 52nd anniversary of the premiere of the Batman TV series.
Wow.
Because somebody asked me, well, you should do a top 52, Batman TV shows. Well,
but you said April 10th?
No, did I say April?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I meant January.
January 10th, okay.
This will be edited out. No, it won't be, but but January 12th.
That's cool. 52, wow.
And I don't know if you've all seen this, Shane, but... out in Hollywood, at the Hollywood Museum.
Yes, I have.
They're having an exhibit.
God, would I love to go see that.
Well, you know how every now and then it's going to be pants?
Oh, you're going, I'm sure.
Here we go.
Guess who's going to that exhibit next month?
Yeah, when you go sit for the Doctor Who thing.
Uh-huh.
That's cool.
Because
pictures.
The exhibit only runs from like January to like April of this year. It's like a short thing.
It's short.
So it's like, I looked at my schedule, it's like, I can make this work.
Huh. Cool.
So I'll take out the Hollywood Museum for the Batman 66 exhibit.
If they sell a program there detailing stuff that's on display,
I'll take a picture and send it to you.
pick it up for me. Here's the program.
Literally rub it in his face.
Yeah. Here, picture.
And I have it on good authority. Somewhere in the hills behind that area is the actual cave they filmed for the Batmobile coming out on the street.
That makes sense.
I mean, it's a cave, but it's in that area.
Nice.
I'm not going to go hiking or anything in the hills of Los Angeles, but
Yeah, but there's a road by it, so it's got to be somewhere drivable.
I'm going to be walking for the most part.
Uber.
Well, I'm not going to drive around Los Angeles. I mean, I have enough trouble driving around like New York.
Can you imagine calling the Uber? I need to find the back route. I'm here for a vacation.
I'll have to go. I don't have the Uber right now. I'm going to put it on my phone here and just get that all set up there. But I thought
cool.
so. That's
neat.
52 trilogy we got going on here.
Awesome. I'll take it as soon as because I watch football. I don't follow it. I don't know players' names for the most part, but I do follow the Eagles going through the season, and I'm perfectly happy that they kept progressing the way the season went, and now they're in. That's awesome. But I don't keep track of what Super Bowl it is. I just watched the Super Bowl, and when they said 52, I'm like, oh my god. Well, Pants is really plotting now.
The Roman numerals might throw some people off. It's Super Bowl LII.
Yeah.
And, for a while there, I think they were planning to just abandon the Roman numerals.
Well, they did it for Super Bowl 50.
So it's not just Super Bowl L.
Right.
But then they were going to just do like Arabic numerals from then on, 5-1, 5-2. But then they changed their minds, and I'm glad that they did.
I'm glad they did. I like it the way the Roman numerals. I think it looks neater.
Yeah, it's just it imparts majesty to the proceedings. On a classical scale.
Now, I do have a friend. My friend Chris actually lives in Minnesota. Now, I'm not going up there. I'm not going to go to the game. That's ridiculous. That's. I mean, I've done things for for the Monkeys or for Letterman traveling or for comic conventions, but for a game which is going to cost like thousands of dollars for a ticket,
Just stand outside the stadium.
I'd be happy to watch it at home.
Or at Matt's home.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Matt's place. Oh man. Yeah. Because I don't know if he's going to put it as his helmet. Remember one time he was in the studio
I'm sure he
wearing
will.
his Patriots
Yeah,
helmet?
he
Jamie made fun of him for that multiple times.
Oh, he wasn't the
after
only
that.
one.
So, Adam, I'm sorry. If you're not invited, I'm sorry, but I just invited myself.
I think he'll eventually call me in.
Pants pulls in.
I still have his Christmas present, so.
Well, you did that last year, right?
Yeah, we did. We exchanged presents right then and there.
Pants pulls into his house, and all of a sudden, all the lights go dark.
I get that a lot.
Knocking on the window. Hello, Super Bowl. Hello.
I get that a lot. All right, well, enough of that. Let's talk some actual comics. So I guess we decided to talk about Doomsday Clock number 2 to start out with. And let me do a little bit of a mention here. There's a new release schedule for Doomsday Clock. It's now going to be basically a bi-monthly book. They were going to have originally, according to I saw online or Newsarama, that originally they were going to have a skip month in March and August, but it's not going to be shipping every other month, starting with number 5 in May. So I guess they don't want to have any delay, so they're going to do it, bi-monthly there. So we did talk about issue 1 the last time, and actually, speaking of it all comes full circle, Dr. Eamon Clark mentioned on the forums that at some point it would be interesting for CGS to talk about the Moore Gibbons original Watchmen deal in similar terms to how Kirby was treated, Jack Kirby back in the day with his rights and everything. Mm-hmm. So let me briefly just read this one paragraph. It's an essay online talking about the original deal between Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons in DC Comics. In the midst of planning the series, both Moore and Gibbons recognized they did not want to create an original work under their standard work-for-hire contract. The characters, world, and story of Watchmen were all unique ideas that the collaborators recognized as originating with them, so they petitioned for a reversion clause. Yeah, a reversion clause within their contract. In essence, that clause stated that once Watchmen went out of print for more than 1 year, its ownership would revert from DC Comics, a publisher, to Moore and Gibbons, the creators. And, of course, it's never gone out of print.
And it's never going to go out of print now that we know that.
31-plus years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we won't discuss it now, but that's a possible topic if I was more smart. But
It sounds like we should send up the Sergi signal.
I was thinking the exact same thing. But initial thoughts, Chris, on that, if you have not heard it before.
I have not heard that before.
Oh,
and
okay.
Like you, Pants, I haven't done a lot of reading about this particular topic, but it doesn't surprise me. It sounds like the same type of, corporate chicanery that, you would expect because, it explains, why the trade is always – I mean, besides the trade being a classic,
yes.
I mean, I'm glad it's always in print for people to read, but it doesn't surprise that there's also this other motive behind that. And even like things like the Before Watchmen series and now this, I mean, that could be a factor in all this as well.
Yes.
So it's just a shame that that masterpiece was crafted before you had the really big surge in creator-owned properties that you see today. So
yeah, because there has been some criticism, valid criticism, I think, of people talking about that. They won't support this book, or it just leaves a bad taste in their mouth the way DC has treated Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, and I can certainly see their point.
Yeah.
But also, I got to say that I have been enjoying the book, so what can I say about that?
Yeah. I think we're all in the same
well,
boat there.
Pants. I'm sorry, Shane. Go ahead.
No, that's all I was going to say. I think we're all in the same boat there with thinking in those terms.
I mean, a lot of art one can appreciate across so many different mediums. I mean, if you dig deep with a lot of these things, you're going to find stuff like this. Mm-hmm. I think it's. I mean, you could make the argument. I mean, at least until Jerry Robinson and Neil Adams made a stink, no one should have been enjoying Superman or or Kirby until very recently when unfortunately he was already deceased, but his family was given justice in terms of financial compensation. So it's a debate, and it's definitely a tough discussion because I think a lot of creative works, if you really explore it, you're going to find these types of situations.
All right, so let's start talking about issue number 2 of Doomsday Clock.
I'll dive in. I just reread it tonight just to have it fresh. I really love this issue. I think this issue really took it up a notch for me in terms of this series thus far. I mean, the art again is absolutely breathtaking.
Of course, Gary Frank on the artwork.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
It's.
No, which is written by Jeff Johns, of course. Written by Jeff.
Yeah, and man, can Gary Frank tell a story? Ho! But this is a beautiful piece of work. What I really enjoyed about this story, though, I thought the pacing of it was outstanding. There was really a sense of drama and consequence throughout this issue. And I didn't think there was any wasted pages, and I didn't feel like it was meandering in any way. The drama of their escape from their universe on right as nuclear Armageddon is striking to the DCU, so to speak. I love the scenes with Bruce Wayne at the Rorschach test.
Yeah.
The encounter with Lex Luthor. And just the last page. And again, spoilers where somehow the comedian has returned.
Yeah.
And he shoots both Veidt and Lex Luthor as they're having their confab. And then a favorite moment of mine, you ate my breakfast. Yeah, I did. And most interesting for me was the back matter, which Pants has praised in the past. This
Pants
very interesting
has
back matter
praised in the past. How about that for alliteration? Excellent.
I didn't even mean it, Pantsy Poo.
Excellent.
I'm happy to oblige, even though it was just a bit of serendipity. But this whole notion of the Supermen theory that is driving apparently a lot of this story, and the notion that it may be a conspiracy theory, maybe it's true that the United States government has actually engineered a metagene that explains why so there are so many superpowered beings in only the United States. So that's very interesting. The first issue I enjoyed it, but it didn't capture me. I'm all in with this issue. This was an exciting read, and just I think was masterfully crafted.
I guess one of my questions is, and I do need to reread it again, when does this take place in the current DC universe? Because we don't
Does it take place in the current DC
That's
universe?
correct, because we don't see, unless I'm completely wrong here, a clear look at the front of Batman to see what logo he's wearing. Is he wearing the logo that was redesigned for 52, where it has
the black bat with the yellow
yes.
outline.
I mean, it's a minor point, but I think in that last corner panel, the last page, it's pretty unclear.
That's a good point, Pants.
What logo he's wearing. Now, again, I could be reading too much into this. I do need to reread it again. But it, again, has me going, ooh, wow, this is what's going on here.
I have my questions about Superman's appearance at the end of issue 1,
Exactly.
too.
And if you look at the back matter, the news bulletins and stuff are dated December 20th, 2017. So does that mean that's when it takes place, or is that something else that's happening? And this
again, that's me not following that closely.
But no, what I'm thinking is, what if this is being told in some kind of the past, and these stories are just coming out now on the internet?
Now, Murd, help me out on the scene with Rorschach in the Batcave when you see in the foreground the umbrella rack. Which costume is he looking at in the display case there with the yellow and the red?
I was thinking Mr. Zero.
That's what I thought, too. Okay, from like Batman 121, which was the precursor, or the Mr. Freeze.
Right.
Which, by the way, is a very highly valued Silver Age book, which I don't have. So, one thing I don't have in my Batman collection, unfortunately.
First world pants problems.
Yes, it is. But I could go on and on about these 9-panel pages with Gary Frank's facial drawings of
gorgeous
mime and help me out again,
Marionette.
Oh my God, the expressions, and then that one page where the ship breaks through the clouds and you see the bat
eyes coming through the bat eyes. Yeah.
Oh, again, just you mentioned the pacing, Chris.
Yeah, what drama? Or like when the ship careens off the corner of the building. This to me, this is a master class in sequential storytelling. This issue, it's extremely well done.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Pancakes.
Pancakes.
Did you get the pancake cover?
No, I got the
Lex Luthor.
Oh, well, the pancakes aren't not for another issue or two.
Okay.
Yep. I have the one with the marionette and the mimes costumes lying on the ground.
Well, again, similar to the original Watchmen, the cover image, in this case, what we think you have as the main cover image, leads into the first panel.
It's like
an
extreme close-up of the first panel.
Right.
Yeah.
So the very covers, I got it because, it's DC, it's Lex Luthor, like later. But you're right, because for the most part, the original Watchmen covers are somewhat pedestrian as far as original art covers go. I mean, they're iconic and everything, but they lead
still command high prices, I'm sure.
Well, they actually all sold as a set not too long ago. I mean, it was broken up as a set not too long ago. But, the original covers and the main cover for the series go into the first panel of the first page.
I also want to applaud, again, the work of the colorist, Brad Anderson.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
The color, on the page where Rorschach is trying to find the cave and he lights the match and he uses it to illuminate the clock, and then the match goes out and you see his reflection in the clock. This is beautiful work. It should be. This is a major event series, so you'd think they bring out all the big guns, and they really have. I mean,
is that
just a joy to behold.
Is that a Gunga Diner MacBook he's lighting?
Which page?
Page 22.
Okay, so when he's about to enter the Batcave, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, let me just find the page.
It looks like an elephant on it.
Well, that would... Yep, that's it. Gunga Diner, good catch.
Yeah. I agree with everything you guys said. The storytelling's been outstanding in this issue. The artwork is gorgeous. I cannot get over the way this book is presented, the paper it's printed on, the colorist, the panels, the facial expressions, the cleverness of the artwork, like what you said, Pants, with the ship coming through the clouds as the bat symbol.
But how about the page after he goes in the Batcave with that middle 3 panels with the image of, the villains Batman was defeating, then the Rorschach page, then his parents in Crime Alley. Just the visual nature of that is just stunning.
Yep, it is absolutely beautiful to look at. And I agree. I'm interested in the way this story is unfolding. This issue was really, really spectacular to read. It was a lot of fun. I read it, reread it, looked at it. It's just beautiful.
And I also want to point out, again, Jeff Johns, no slouch in the scripting department, just how he captures the essence of characters in just quick strokes. Like, for example, again, on page 24, Luthor goes, "I will end this world before I let Wayne win." There's Lex Luthor.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's the character right there, one word balloon, basically. Yeah, I actually got giddy when I finished this because I just thought it was so well done. Murd, what are your thoughts on the book overall?
Well, I certainly would not vary from the opinions expressed about Gary Frank's artwork so far. It's the most enjoyable, most creative, and most evocative of the original Watchmen series element of this miniseries so far. The facial expressions are absolutely non-pareil and excellent for the mime character, especially since, of course, he doesn't actually speak. He needs to communicate exclusively by gesture and facial expression, and Gary Frank really goes to town, allowing him to convey as much as possible without speaking. So we're really seeing Gary Frank's talents on display. There are very few other artists who would have been as good a choice if as Gary Frank, and I really can't think of any that would have been better.
Well, and just quickly to piggyback on that, I mean, we've all read a lot of Gary Frank drawn books. This just looks above and beyond anything he's done before, as far as the detail in the characters, the faces, the back matter, everything. It's just gorgeous.
While we're pointing out Easter eggs, anybody else notice where the owl ship crashes when it gets to Gotham City?
It looked to me like the funhouse where the Killing Joke takes place.
Mm-hmm.
Am
That's
I
what I
right?
thought.
Okay.
Written by
Alan Moore.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, could it be an homage? Could it be a little jab? Poking the bear?
We're going with homage. I'd like to think homage.
Yes, let's all go with homage.
Yeah,
because
let's think positive, shall
I'm
we?
sure at press conferences, DC will do that as well. Oh, and one further thing before I launch into a more broader comment, broad comments.
Yay.
On pages 19 and 20, when Rorschach remarks that Hemingway, Wolfe, and Mayakovsky have something in common, the three busts over the doorway into Gotham Library, what they have in common is they all committed suicide. So just
That's right.
put that on to brew for a little while. So anyway, Chris, I'm very glad that your enjoyment of this series has escalated between the first and second issues, because I'm going to have to say mine has actually taken the opposite trajectory.
Oh, no.
As I kind of expected it might. Johns gave us some pretty competent table setting in the first issue, and I thought, as I said before, he did a pretty good job of simulating the tone and feel of Watchmen with a lot of help from Gary Frank. This project is asking him to employ a bit more sly referential subtlety in his writing than he normally does, and I'm kind of enjoying what he's doing with that, just trying to fit himself into the mold of Alan Moore's original, but he's using the tools and materials, so to speak, that Moore implied in writing the original that Moore utilized in writing the original Watchmen, and he's using them. They were originally used to deconstruct the superhero genre, and here's Johns using them to put together what is, at its base, a very conventional superhero story and a vehicle and an excuse for mashing up Watchmen and DC characters. I mean, Alan Moore's own word for the potential Watchmen prequels and or sequels that DC wanted him to do years ago was, and I quote, dopey. And I'm afraid that before we're done, that term is going to be applicable to this maxi series as a whole. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's going to be a fun ride along the way, and I'm certainly going to continue to buy it and enjoy that which is enjoyable and praise that which is praiseworthy about it, but in the meantime, it's just Watchmen versus DCU. They chose to give it a more artful title than that, but yeah, at the end of the day, that's what it's going to turn out to be. I mean, Johns has fashioned for himself, with some skill, admittedly, a Watchmen-shaped stencil in which to create, and then he's scribbling on it with a crayon. So,
man, I love to hear you talk about stuff. Jesus Christ, you're awesome.
Well, thanks.
Oh, man.
But yeah, it's an enjoyable enough story, but it is getting to, again, borrow Moore's term, dopier as it goes along here. I'm glad that the pace, I agree with Chris about the pacing. And he's doing a very good job just kind of stepping slowly along from plot development to plot development. He's not throwing all the DCU characters at us all at once. He's giving us some interesting reveals, although the nature of these reveals makes the story seem all the more conventionally superheroic, like the unexpected gunman showing up at the end of the issue who turns out to be somebody that we thought was dead. He's using plot devices here that are certainly not very original and therefore not very Watchmen-like. But in the end, it's going to be a fun ride with kind of a Watchmen feel to it. But if you go into this expecting the kind of literary complexity that Moore and Gibbons brought to the original, if you're expecting a true Watchmen 2, lower your expectations now. Still fairly good comics, but it's not exactly worthy of its predecessor.
Oh, Murd, I couldn't agree more. There's no way this is going to have attain the literary level and complexity and significance of Watchmen. That's not going to happen. Just taking it for what it is, that's what I'm enjoying. But no, I completely agree with your sentiment in that sense.
And so far, my favorite part of the miniseries is still Marionette and Mime.
God, that one page, just like what Pants had said, I think, earlier, that one page where they're getting ready to escape, those 4 panels in the bottom left-hand corner.
Oh, when Mime finds his lockpick.
Lockpick, yeah. Just to not even read anything on the page aside of it or that page, and to just dart your eyes back and forth to look at their expressions.
Yeah,
It's
the
just
lower
fantastic.
left, he looks like a demented Cary Grant in that panel.
Yeah.
Well done, Murd.
It's just
Thank you, sir.
beautiful.
Fantastic, demented Cary Grant. That was just pitch perfect. I love this. I love these men. Oh, fantastic.
And
All right.
These men love you too, Chris.
All right, so moving on from Doomsday Clock number 2, what else does the group have to offer up to the comics reading gods?
I have a couple things I want to shout out, if I may.
Certainly.
So I just got this on my shipment. Planet of the Apes Ursus, number 1 of 6. Now, as many listeners know, I'm a huge Planet of the Apes fan, and I've been reading all of the, or most of the Boom books that have the license now for a bit. But I really was excited for this one because it's written by David Walker, who's one of my favorite writers working in comics right now. His wonderful work on the Power Man and Iron Fist series, which was over way too soon. He did some great adaptations of the John Shaft character, the blaxploitation classic, both in comics and in novel. And, of course, right now he's also writing Luke Cage, which I'm enjoying. And so I was really interested in this because I've always been fascinated by General Ursus. Anyone who knows Planet of the Apes knows he is the really cool-looking gorilla soldier from the second movie, Beneath the Planet of the Apes. And when you're a kid, you're just thrilled by the helmet he's wearing and the sort of the body armor and so forth. And the art in this, by the way, is Chris Mooneyham, colored by Jason Wordie, lettered by Ed Dukeshire. Forgive me if I misspelled any of those names. Covered by Paulo Rivera.
Ooh.
And Joe Rivera. So this is a well-crafted comic, and I love this because it picks up with the first page. I won't spoil too much, but it picks up with the movie when the 3 astronauts have come to the harvest, the crops, the cornfield, and right as the hunting party attacks. So it picks it up there, but then from that point forward, it's all from the perspective of Ursus. And they take you into his past, why he is the way he is, a bit of his private life, and also the political dynamic between him and the ruling orangutans, and especially Zeus. And they also go into their shared past. This is really well done, and it just goes to show what a great concept Planet of the Apes is, that they can continue to mine such great story potential from it. So if you're a fan of Planet of the Apes and a fan of the Ursus character, you really have to read this because they're really exploring, the potential of that character. Because, in the movie, his main role is to be the militaristic, sort of right-wing reactionary trying to stir up the guerrillas to go out and hunt down the human/mutants in the Forbidden Zone. And that's pretty much what you get about him. This goes much deeper into the character. So highest recommendation. I think David Walker is one of the best writers in comics. I just don't think he gets as much play as he should in terms of attention, but great stuff. Wow. May I continue? I don't want to monopolize, gentlemen.
No, go ahead.
This I picked up, and it came out the end of last year. I finally got around to reading it. Maestros, which is written and drawn by the great. Is it Steve Scroce? How do we pronounce his name?
I think it's Scrose.
Okay, Steve Scrose.
I'm sure Eric Nolan Wethington has advised us on this subject before, but that's what I think I remember him telling us.
And I'm sure he'll advise us again if need be, and I appreciate that. Colored by the great Dave Stewart. this was really fun. I didn't know what to expect. I just got it because I like Steve Scrose's artwork. He's writing this as well. And it's the first issue. It's beautiful to look at. The art is fantastic. But it's about this sort of other dimension sort of outside of our world, but you can cross over into it, ruled by a dynasty of wizards. And it's how the offspring of the sort of the head wizard, his mother was from Earth. She was an apprentice to this wizard. And just about how he's drawn back into the sort of the family dynamic, the politics of the dynasty, and it starts with, the story starts with the murder, and then it kind of goes from there. Really fun, some great humor in it. It seems like Scrosey has really kind of imagined this whole world, and the political dynamic of this world, and how this young man is going to get caught up in the legacy of his father, and the fact that he has inherited a lot of these powers. I don't want to say too much about it because I really think people should check this out. I got to hunt down, because this came out I think in September, October. I got to hunt down the next couple issues, but really strong first issue by a top flight creator. I've never read anything he's written before. I don't know if he's actually written comics before, but he definitely has chops. This is a lot of fun. So I highly recommend that. And the last book I wanted to mention, I mentioned this in the last episode I was on. I did get around to reading Hawkman Found by Jeff Lemire and Brian Hitch. And this now, granted, Murd, I have not been reading the Metal storyline, so I know it's tied into that. And Kevin Nolan's doing the inks on this. This is a top flight team, man. But it's exploring, what's happening with Carter Hall. I have to find out more about the Metal storyline, but I love the Hawkman character. They really did him a disservice when they quote brought him back in the New 52. That was so shoddily done, especially considering what James Robinson and Rags Morales did, and Jeff Johns. So this is really, really well done. Great action issue. It's a lot of sort of Hawkman combat, but they also kind of revisit his past and all the different incarnations he's lived. And in the artwork, it's Brian Hitch. It's absolutely stunning. So it made me want to find a little bit more about this Dark Knight's Metal storyline, because I'm really interested to see where they go with the Hawkman character. So those are some of the books I wanted to shout out that I've just read just in the past week, essentially.
I wanted to talk about something, especially while you're on the line, Chris, that I finished just in the last couple of weeks. I finished Star Trek Next Generation Mirror Broken.
Oh!
Yeah, exactly. Wasn't that just one of the most fantastic reads I have had for any licensed property in a long time? Just like what I said with Gary Frank's art.
The creator, of course.
Creators are David and Scott Tipton and J.K. Woodward on art, Charlie Kirkhoff on colors, and World Design on letters. We've all seen and read a lot of things with J.K.'s artwork.
Yes, we have.
And I've even watched, while this series was being produced, I watched some of his time lapses, some of his live
he's done some
streams of him drawing this stuff. Oh my God! It just keeps getting better. This book was just beautiful to look at. This cover of issue 5 is one of my favorites out of anything he's done in this series. The little nods to characters that any Star Trek Next Generation fan and other Star Trek fans would know, like Admiral Quinn coming into issue 5 for a little bit, which he was only in the first season for 2 episodes. Barclay's in through the whole thing. I love Mirror Universe stories. I love the novels they've written over time. This comic does so well in telling yet another interesting Mirror Universe storyline.
Okay, and this is the premise in a nutshell is it's Star Trek The Next Generation.
Yeah.
With like a mirror story for them in that universe.
I don't remember...
And they all have, like, the goatees, right?
Yeah, every one of them has a goatee. No, not all of them. Some of them have a goatee.
Beverly Crusher has a goatee.
Yeah, everybody has a goatee. No, that'd be gross. But they do some interesting things here with characters like Guinan's in it, and just like any other mirror universe, it's familiar, but just a little twisted. Wesley is really twisted in this.
Yes, he is.
And what Beverly does to kind of hide him for years is interesting. And then to have Captain Picard bring him to the forefront, kind of like he does in The Next Generation, but does it in an interesting way and kind of against her wishes in the book. It's just fantastic. I just could not be happier that this came out. I wish it was longer. I wish it was a 12-issue series, man. I could have read this and looked at this art forever. It's just fantastic. And I love that I got to see some of the streams of J.K. drawing this stuff. Not only just because it's fun to watch him draw, and I'll post little comments every now and then, and he'll say hey or something back. Sometimes my older son, who is interested in art in general, will sit down and watch it for a few minutes with me, and I keep telling him, here, go watch the whole thing. And he doesn't do that yet, but I really wish he would. It's just fun to then see it in full production in the book. I cannot recommend this enough. If you're a Star Trek fan, I am not the biggest fan of reading licensed properties. Star Wars that Marvel's been doing and what Dark Horse did was probably the closest I've come to reading a consistent licensed property turned into a comic book or however you want to say it. And I've read a bunch of Star Trek stuff over the years, but I come and go with it so often. But this stuff that J.K. just keeps drawing and putting out there, and the Tipton brothers, it's just phenomenal. I couldn't be happier that it's out there to read it. It was a lot of fun.
Well, Shane, I concur wholeheartedly with your sentiments. I love the mirror stories too, and first of all, like you said, what I love about J.K.'s work, and I'm the proud owner of some original commissions he did for me too, which I'm so grateful to have purchased and to own, is that he doesn't do like a boring like reproduction of the actors like some artists will do. It's stylized. It's clearly his take, his vision. I mean, it's very much those characters and those actors, and you recognize them, but it's his signature style. And the art, it's breathtaking. The way he captures the ships and you know, the aliens and the, you know, the battles in space, but also quiet moments between characters when we, you know. And again, what's great about the mirror stories, and Shane, the Tiptons, did they do the City on the Edge of Forever book as well with J.K.?
Boy, I don't remember that. I cannot.
I want to say yes.
I want to say they did, because I think they've been a good team for quite a while, but I just cannot remember off the top of my head.
Okay, well, they know their Star Trek front and back, and what I love about the mirror stories, and they capture here is, and you use the word twisted, which I think is an apt term. Like Picard, it's Picard. He's the brilliant strategist, the brilliant combat tactician, but this is the mirror Picard. So he is ruthless, right? And he is not someone who's afraid to do things that, you know, the Picard of the other universe would never countenance doing.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the mirror universe so fun to see on television or to read, especially when it's as executed as well as this story was. But this was easily one of the best miniseries of the year as far as I'm concerned that I read.
And I'm sorry, what was your question again, Chris, about
who wrote City on the Edge of Forever, the comic book?
When they did the Harlan Ellison version with J.K.
Oh, yeah, that was the Tipton brothers,
Okay,
yeah.
excellent.
That's what I thought. Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you, Pants.
And actually, Scott Tipton is one of the co-owners of one of my favorite comic shops, Blast Off Comics in Los Angeles.
Oh, nice.
They have so many. You walk, and they're talking about wall books. I mean, I'm talking about like bronze, silver, golden age, 100% keys on the wall, like blah, 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 blah. And they've got art on the wall. Covered a lot of JK art on the wall there. So that's one of my favorite stores I've ever been to. It's a beautiful store out there in Los Angeles. And actually, Scott Tipton, David Tipton, and J.K. are having what's called they have these coffee clatches out at Gallifrey 1 where they have like a room for about an hour. You got maybe 15 people and just talk about them. They're having one out there. Maybe I'll just get a sign up for that to listen to them chat for a little while.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Boy, that'd be fun.
Yeah. See, it all comes full circle. Get back to Gallifrey 1 in Los Angeles and comics.
I was going to simplify and just say Pants gets to go away. You don't have to make it sound grand. We know you get to go.
I'm not trying to brag or anything, am I? I don't mean to.
No, I don't think it sounds like that.
I'm sorry. I'm so excited.
You should be.
Yippee!
And he just can't hide it.
Yeah.
I'm about to lose control.
I'm not going to say
And we think we like it.
We think that, yeah, and we do think we like it.
We're not committing to anything.
No. It depends.
Somebody talk about another comic, please.
Depends if you bring us back cool stuff.
I'll get you a picture of the program.
I'm not going to talk too much in-depthly about it.
Depthly?
In-depthly. I know that's probably
That was a great Shaneism. Shane, don't stop.
I know.
Fantastic.
I said to Pants before the show started, I was going
Get
over
out, what you said, right?
some things. Get out. Going over some things that I have read to prepare for the show, and just because it cracks me up that I have no patience for this kind of stuff, I've been trying to read what I read in order, just like Adam. And I mean, there's some stuff I'm really far behind on, but I'm trying to catch up. However, I had no patience to wait until I got caught up on Action Comics to read Booster Gold, which is in issue 993, 994, and I think coming in 995 and 996 as well. So I skipped over the Oz Effect and went right to this and read it, and it was a lot of fun. It looks spectacular. It's well written. It's a fun story.
Dan Jurgens artwork, Art T. Bear on the inks.
You can't go wrong.
That's classic 90s art team for me.
And Booster Gold series.
Yeah.
The creator of Booster Gold returning to him once again.
Yep.
And teaming up with Superman as a bonus.
In Action Comics, which I love that crossover they had with Booster and Superman fighting, where the reverse covers they are.
Similar covers,
similar like that.
yeah.
This was totally exciting to me, and I'm so glad Jurgens got to, whether he got to or whether he suggested it, put Booster Gold in to write another story about him and Superman. So that was a lot of fun to read. I highly recommend doing it if you're a Booster Gold fan. Can't wait. Hopefully there's more coming.
What else you got there?
Mystic U. I picked up issue 1 of that with Alyssa Whitney writing it, Mike Norton drawing it, which is what, of course, caught my eye. Colorist Jordi Belair and letterer Daron Bennett. And this was a lot of fun to read. I didn't know what to expect with this. I don't always go in for what seems to be like a school of book. Like, I didn't get into Gotham Academy or anything like that.
If I'm wrong, is it Zatanna teaching classes?
No.
Taking them. Yeah.
Taking them.
Yeah, it's kind of like DC Superhero Girls meets Harry Potter. It's like
so it's
established magical characters from the DC universe who are learning to use magic from other established magical characters.
Is Zatanna de-aged at all, or is she
sort of? It's told in. I don't know if she's.
It's all magic. You don't have to explain anything.
I don't know if she's
Just ask Joe Quesada.
or if this is her status quo in the New 52. I can't remember if we've seen
Rebirth.
her.
I think it's out of continuity.
Is it okay?
I'm pretty sure
which
it
is fine. I didn't look into it more
in depthly
than that. Only because you asked for it. Something happens in the beginning of the story, and then you're thrown sort of back in time, but there's a reason you're thrown back in time, and because of what happens in the very beginning is the reason you're thrown back in time to see Zatanna go to Mystic U, and I think it's going to be a very interesting story. I actually don't know if it's a miniseries or not.
I think it's 3 issues.
3 issues? Okay. I hope if they do well, I hope they do more, because this first issue was a lot of fun to read. I liked it. A lot of interesting characters, a lot of DC Mystic characters thrown in there, good and bad, all at the university.
Mike's artwork is looking pretty crisp in there.
Oh, my gosh.
I like his Mr. E.
Oh, yeah. I actually, God, I've always liked Mike's artwork. It just seems to keep getting better and better to me. It's still recognizable as Mike, but it's better. Just like JK's artwork, it's always been gorgeous. I can always recognize it, but it looks better, and this just looks the same way. I can't wait to see the next 2 issues.
I have to check, but I believe he went digital quite some time ago for his artwork, which, I mean, I guess it helps him.
Oh, sure.
But then again, there's less originals out there in the market, which is what I look for.
Right.
Yeah.
Freddie Williams did the same thing, didn't he?
He sure did.
Freddie was doing occasional original for like covers or for splash pages to, supplement his income, but for the most part, he went digital quite some time ago as well.
Yep.
We actually have a Freddie original he drew for us during an episode.
I remember that.
Hanging on our wall here in the studio.
Yeah, was that like one of those? I remember one time we had a recording session on like a Saturday night at Brian Deemer's house. He was there. Chuck Satterley was there. We ended up down in Brian's basement.
Yeah, it's right there under the light switch. I think it's I want to say episode 2.
It's written on there.
It's written on there, episode 201. A nice Robin pencil figure.
I'm calling it.
No, you can't call it. It's part of the community.
I called it anyway.
Oh, man. Well, I'm taking the boys' homage cover to episode 300.
That's a great piece.
I always thought Shauna should get the Dynamite one with Harley.
Seems fair.
Yeah, that's Erica Hesse. I'm sorry, we're talking about our art on our wall here in the studio here. No one can see it. I'll have to post a picture so people know what
we
we're talking
have.
about.
I mean, it's all been out there before, but we should post some reminders of what's on the walls.
We should.
But yeah, so I recommend it. It was a great read. It was a lot of fun.
Adam, anything you want to?
You got to talk
go
about
ahead. Go ahead. You can go.
Okay.
I have this and some other stuff I'll just mention.
You know what, Brian? I'm actually going to throw this back to you for a minute,
no.
and we'll use this as a segue.
I'm trying to sit
into-
here and be quiet and manage things and, look at my phone and do things.
Well, now we can get Chris involved with this too, because now Chris,
all right.
I allowed Pants to borrow my copy of X-Men Grand
You
Design.
allowed me to borrow. It's like,
Okay.
Pants borrowed my book, but I'll allow it this
You
time.
wanted to read it, so
I
you're,
did.
You're allowing me to borrow your copy of the Private Eye hardcover.
Which I did, by the way. Chris, find my hard copy cover. So I'll give
Oh,
it to you.
terrific.
I'm going with allow.
You'll allow it. I must caveat, I only read half of it because it was so...
It's dense.
It's dense.
Is it dense?
It's good stuff, but it's dense. What were we talking about? Tell me what we're talking about.
Oh,
Or
we're
did you already?
talking about X-Men Grand Design #1 by Ed Piskor, both written and drawn by that gentleman. It's he's the man who brought us the Hip Hop Family Tree series from Fantagraphics Books, which is his own historical treatment of the hip hop genre of music and how it evolved over the years. All the different artists that came and went, all the different promoters, all the people really who influenced its development. And he's doing something comparable with the history of the early history here of the X-Men. It's going to be a series of miniseries, apparently.
Yeah, I think 2 issues is each series?
I believe you are correct about that. Now, the first one dealing with their early Silver Age years, I guess. I mean, this first issue really doesn't get any further than the formation of the team.
Is it 48 pages? Is it longer than that? 'Cause it's really packed in there.
I haven't counted, but yeah, it's got to be a pretty high page count.
Yeah, it's dense. The paper gives you a feel or look of like not golden, but Silver Age books that have like sort of tanned.
Right, it's deliberately yellowed.
Yellow, yes. On the owl scale down towards the low numbers.
Having done a rough count, I think it is 48 pages.
Okay. And it's $5.99. You damn well get for today's value. Get your money's worth
every
out of the
penny.
book.
Worth every penny.
Yes.
Because I know Chris was singing the praises of this first issue.
Well, sing, gentlemen. Well, I'll sit back here and take a nap.
And I'm in the midst of reading the second, which is I'm enjoying just as thoroughly as the first. And as I mentioned the last time I was on the show, what I'm enjoying about this book, it's rejuvenating my love for the X-Men and the characters in their world, which has really faded in me now the past couple of years. I mean, I've always loved and returned to a lot of the classic stories, but I really haven't followed the current titles in quite some time beyond an occasional title here or there, issue here or there. So it's like coming home again when I think about how, when I was a kid in the 80s and early 90s, I mean, the X-Men were it. I mean, I waited every month with great anticipation because it was just one title a month. God, I miss that. It felt like those books really meant something at that time, at least for me as a reader, a reader in his teens and into my early 20s. There was real significance to them, and what happened to that book felt like it really mattered to me as a reader. And what Piskor is doing, it's reawakened that feeling, and I'm really enjoying returning to all that history. Like Pan said, it's dense. I mean, it's one of those rare times where a comic I think is really worth what you're paying for it. Because the research he did, I mean, in the back of the first issue, there's an index where he lists where all the different plot lines and moments he's referring to, where you can find them in the original comics. So that's a wealth just in itself, those last couple of pages in the back. Really well done. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, it was a very enjoyable read for me, too. I think what we have here is what Piskor has given us is what I would define as like a piece of X-Men folk art, almost. It's like
Well done, Murd.
The narrative equivalent of a legacy quilt. Every Silver Age story beat of the X-Men that he selects and includes and splices in is like another panel in this quilt this legacy quilt that he's sewing together. It's interesting. Just thinking of the creative process that goes on here in his mind as he decides which of those story beats to include and which to leave out. I mean, there are things that I was surprised and delighted to see that he thought was worthy of a mention, and other things that he just left out or altered. Like, for example, he's taking a lot of creative liberties. He's just wallowing in his artistic subjectivity here. Like, for example, he shows Professor Xavier having lost his hair as a child, when in fact he didn't really lose it until later into his teens. And when he talks about Xavier's loss of his legs, he kind of strongly suggests, without directly showing it, that he lost his legs in the same cave-in that led to Cain Marko becoming the Juggernaut, when in fact he lost...
And Murd, I'm sorry, I noted that as well, because really the alien Lucifer led him to lose his legs.
Exactly.
If I remember correctly. Yeah, I noted that as well.
So that's a key. That's significant in that it shows you that this is not. He's not trying to be in any way exhaustive, definitive, or authoritative here. He's not trying to give you the play-by-play, totally complete version of the X-Men's early history as it happened on the page. This is more him building, what our friend Peter would call his personal continuity of the early X-Men. He's just stitching together his favorite moments and altering them as it suits his purposes, and giving us something sort of fresh. I mean, even the detail of the yellowing of the pages, it suggests his own personal fondness and nostalgia for the Silver Age comics he remembers reading as a younger man or a boy. And I guess he's sort of bringing that across here as he wants us to have the same thrill reading these stories like new as he did when he first encountered them. And the end notes at the end where he reveals his thought process and his the research he did is also kind of fun to keep track of as well. So it's his own personal fan crafted love note to the early X-Men. It's not a history so much as it is his sort of impressionistic sharing with the world of his view of the early X-Men. So don't think this is going to be some kind of authoritative history or anything. It's really much more of a monographic montage of the X-Men's early history.
Monographic montage.
There's another alliteration for you.
Not a match. The board goes back.
Well put, Murd. Well put.
Thank you, sir. So that's one that I think several of us have now read and enjoyed very much. Something else from Marvel that Chris, if you haven't read this yet, this may be of interest to you. I picked up the Avengers number 675 and 676. So that title is now returning to its legacy numbering as a part of the whole Marvel Legacy Initiative. It's also marking sort of the folding of all the different Avengers monthlies into a single weekly ongoing, kind of like what they did with Amazing Spider-Man a while ago.
Okay.
And so instead of having a single monthly issue of Avengers, Occupy Avengers, US Avengers, Uncanny Avengers, instead there's just a single weekly Avengers title for the foreseeable future, with most of the creators of those titles collaborating to keep up with the weekly schedule. So it's a little bit like what they did with 52, you might say.
Once again, coming back to 52.
Yes, everything comes back to everything else. That's the patterns of reality that we see here in CGS land as the Wheel of Fortune turns around. Mark Waid, Jim Zub, and at least one other writer whose name I'm not remembering right now. They're all
I think it's Al Ewing, I believe, Murd.
I believe you're right, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah.
And several of the artists as well. They're collaborating on this weekly Avengers thing. And it's a long, ongoing story. It's going to be at least 12 parts and several more than that, I think. We haven't even seen the final chapter solicited in previews yet. So that's,
could it lead up to 700?
I'm pretty sure they're doing this weekly schedule thing, among other reasons, to accelerate the arrival of the landmark issue number 700.
I was thinking that too.
But issue 675 already had like a holographic, I don't know what the proper cover effect of it, probably lenticular, but it's kind of this, it creates the illusion of a 3D image.
Okay.
But it's also available in a normal, like, newsstand edition, as they used to call them. Not that these are available on newsstands anymore, of course, but...
that might be the Avengers. I'm sure the Avengers main titles on the newsstands. I shouldn't say sure, but I'm confident. Like Barnes & Noble.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, if we're counting that.
Yeah, that's considered the newsstand copies. Like, I would get some issues of Batman that I might have missed that were out of the comic shop.
They're at the
there.
newsstands, yeah.
So anyway, 675 was the beginning of the No Surrender story. So we've got 2 weekly installments of that already. And things are off to a pretty exciting start. I mean, spoilers, of course. But in the first installment, the planet Earth has been abducted. I mean, there are a couple of Avengers who are out in space, including Carol Danvers. And from their point of view, the Earth just disappears. But from the point of view of those people, Avengers and otherwise, on Earth at the time, the planet is suddenly racked with natural disasters, and the Avengers have to scramble, call in every reserve they can get their hands on to try to keep up with it all. Mark Waid uses the POV character of the Living Lightning, who was a member of the West Coast Avengers back in the days.
Oh, yeah.
An alliterative name, He's for his name alone, he's been one of my favorite minor Avengers. But Mark Waid tells us that he calls himself Lightning now. He takes away the living part. Which is a shame.
It's understandable. He's living, obviously,
Yeah, he is. And he
The dead lightning.
he laments that he keeps being confused with the living laser. And you can't have that. It's bad for one's rep.
Lamented living laser.
You're my primary audience for this stuff.
Thank you. Yay!
Clap your
Here's some art. Here's some art.
Knock it off. Continue on before.
Okay. So yeah, he's sort of our POV character for what goes on. Interesting choice, interesting character. But yeah, so we see the planet Earth has gone away, and meanwhile, a seemingly random selection of superheroes and villains have been mysteriously frozen, immobilized. So far, the heroes have not identified any pattern amongst the characters that have been so immobilized. I don't have any theories of my own so far either, but that will no doubt be revealed later on. And so the Avengers are trying to make sense of what's happening, and by the end of the first issue, Jarvis has once again been critically injured, and a character arrives. It's the long-awaited return of Voyager. Now, at this point, I'm going to... Exactly. That's supposed to be the reaction, actually. But I'm going to turn to my two fellow DC mavens now. So, Pants and Shane, do you remember a character on the DC side of the aisle called Triumph?
Yes, back from the 90s in Justice League. Wasn't he a buddy of, Guy Gardner?
I'm
thinking of somebody else, maybe General Glory or whatever.
That's General Glory.
But yeah, where he was sort of retconned back into the Justice League, if I recall. Yeah, there was even a mini-series. I can't say much more than that because I don't have a memory like you do, but 25 plus years ago.
Yep, you got the important stuff there, though.
Oh, yay!
He's
going for pants.
He was a character who, according to the narrative at the time of Zero Hour, was supposed to be a founding member of the Justice League, was there for their first adventure and everything, but then he got sucked into all the time distortion nonsense of Zero Hour and ripped out of history.
Hey, it's not nonsense. I love that thing.
I use the term affectionately.
Dan Jurgens, Jerry Ordway artwork.
I love Zero Hour Brian. That's what got me into DC Comics. Remember?
Super. All right.
So,
I'm sorry. I'm going to be quiet now.
I'll try to think of a less offensive synonym. Falderall? No, that's not much better. All the craziness, the time distortion craziness.
Okay.
And he was robbed of his place in DC history, and then he was tossed back in as a complete unknown wash-up in 1994. Yeah. And he ended up joining the Justice League Task Force, as written by Christopher Priest. And then Grant Morrison used him as a villain in his run on JLA. But anyway, the point is, Voyager is pretty much exactly to the Avengers what Triumph was to the Justice League. She was a character who we're being told, by way of retcon, was supposed to be a founding member of the Avengers, and she was there for their first adventure and for some time after that, until finally, in the middle of one of the epic cosmic chess games that the Grandmaster likes to play with various Marvel characters, he was playing one with Kang the Conqueror, and apparently Voyager, whose real name is Valerie Vector, talking of alliterations.
Oh, my God.
It was a Stan Lee specialty. He used to do that to make the superheroes' secret identities easier for him to remember.
Exactly.
So anyway, she was ripped out of the timeline as a result of the electromagnetic feedback from the battle that she was having as a part of this chess game that these characters were playing with each other. And now she pops up again, and suddenly all the Avengers characters are like, oh! We completely forgot about you because you were wiped from history, but now that you're here, we remember what an influential and inspiring Avenger you are. You were our heart and soul in 1963, and they don't say 1963, but, Marvel time.
Yeah.
That's like the big reveal at the end of 675, and then in 676, history seems to be repeating itself because a cosmic chess game very similar to the one that the Grandmaster and Kang were playing when Voyager vanished seems to be going on again. The reason Earth has vanished is because apparently, it's to be the battleground for another such matchup between two teams of characters who are not of Earth. They're alien characters whom we've seen before. And so they're setting up for a clash there. And meanwhile, the Avengers are trying to unravel the mystery of what's... they're all excited that Voyager is back. They're trying to figure out what's going on with the frozen characters and what's going on with these groups of alien superpowered beings, none of whom are particular friends of the Avengers or of Earth. And it ends with Avengers Mansion blowing up. So there's some pretty good cliffhangers just in the first 2 installments of this
Wow.
12-plus.
Murd, I will run out to this week and pick up those issues.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty heavily frosted with Marvel Universe goodness, Chris.
Oh, I love it.
It seems to be like the kind of thing you would very much enjoy.
Brother, I appreciate that recommendation.
Couple things, if I may, or you.
I thought that we were going to say that it was the Earth was hidden in a tiny little pocket of time, pulled out by the Doctor or something from when David Tennant got everybody together.
Couple things. The Triumph miniseries from '95 was written by Christopher Priest as well.
Thought so, yes.
And it's like, okay, now I got to find this again. Now, my memory on this is probably completely wrong, and if I'm wrong, please correct me. I have a vague recollection of something. The Centuries entry into Marvel. Didn't they initially, when he first came out, say he was sort of like a lost character from the 60s?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, he wasn't, but
It was a total hoax.
that
yes.
was more of a PR thing than
Yeah.
anything in the comics. Okay, because that made me think of that as well. Okay.
Yeah, nobody's trying to tell us that Voyager actually was an obscure 60s Marvel character.
No.
Which they did with the Century and the,
Right.
and the
Right.
news release.
Yep.
Okay. Very interesting.
My theory is she's going to turn out to be a trap of some kind. But
It's a trap!
thank you, Admiral Akbar,
Hand over your heart!
wherever you are.
Oh, my God. How we fix for,
He was sucked out into space.
fix for time, everybody?
I'm good for a few minutes yet.
I have limitless time.
Good.
But there was one more thing I wanted to bring up.
I can hang out for another 10, 15 minutes.
Okay. Well, this won't take long either. This is one thing that I've got on my nightstand right now, because usually I read comics from 15 or so years ago on a daily basis, but I also usually keep a trade or a hardcover or even sometimes a real prose book on my nightstand
What
to
are
read,
those?
The same thing.
of which to read a few pages before going to sleep. So right now, my nightstand reading is The Creeper by Steve Ditko, in hardcover no less.
Nice.
Wow.
So
wow.
I picked this out, not even realizing at the time how close we are to the 50th anniversary of the first appearance of the Creeper. It's going to get lost in the shuffle with all the Superman 80th.
Let me show some knowledge here. Showcase 73.
You are exactly right, as I knew you would.
Ah, the man with the numbers.
Cover dated April 1968.
Steve Ditko worked on that.
Yes, well, it's right there in the title
Well,
of the
yeah,
collection.
Duh, but
Yeah, that was hard. No.
Oh, stop it.
Kind of his co-creation, anyway.
Lead me to my humble.
Can you tell me who wrote his first appearance, though? Well, I mean, who scripted it, that is.
No, I cannot.
Okay, Don Siegel was the man's name.
Okay, no relation to Jerry?
Not even spelled the same. It's Segall.
Okay.
But yeah, so this collection has both that story from Showcase number 73, plus all 6 issues of the Creeper solo series, which ran bi-monthly throughout 1968. And Ditko did the art on all of it. He had to have a little help from Jack Sparling in issue number 6, who I know is the penciler of most of the Eclipso feature that ran in House of Secrets.
61 to 80.
And this collection...
Sorry.
See, I could not have told you that, because numbers just escape me. But it also has that story from First Issue Special, which was also Ditko, where the Creeper fights the Firefly, which also was the first time that Creeper's home was established as Gotham City. And then there's also a run of World's Finest Comics backup stories featuring the Creeper, which were both written and drawn by Ditko.
Wow.
You know, I had not remembered the World's Finest appearances, nor that they were Ditko work.
No,
they worked on
I didn't know
those.
that he was in World's Finest like that. No.
Yeah, there were a couple of other Creeper appearances in the 70s, like the Creeper number 3, I mean, the Joker number 3, for example.
He was also in Showcase 100. Everybody was in that one.
Right, but
Appeared at Showcase.
this is just Ditko's work on the
Yeah.
Creeper. So, if it's the 6-issue original series is mostly the Creeper having this ongoing duel with a chameleonic character called Proteus. So there's this his identity is a mystery, and it's finally resolved in issue number 6. I'm about halfway through the hardcover right now, so I haven't gotten to the 70s stuff yet.
Okay.
But yeah, it's nice to revisit one of my. He's a terrific visual. He's one of my favorite oddball characters from the DC universe. I have a couple of action figures of him, and I
do too.
can't say that about a lot of characters since I don't have a very big toy collection.
Yeah, because he was in the animated Batman series.
Yep, voiced by Jeff Bennett.
All right. How did you know that?
Because
He's got a good knowledge of animated.
Yeah, I
voice.
know. I know.
I-
All right. I'll let that one slide.
yeah,
You'll let what the?
we're allowing each other to be ourselves
you're not
tonight.
kidding.
That's our theme.
I'm sorry.
We're just indulging one another in our individuality.
Showing off what we're
That's
doing.
all right. Sometime I'll allow myself to talk about Star Wars trivia, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So
That's cool. I didn't know that hardback was out there.
Yeah, I've had it for a few years. I hadn't had it out of the shrink wrap until just a couple of days ago.
How was the smell when I opened it up then?
Probably perfect.
Shane, tell him how the smell is.
Well, I mean, it's been opened since then. But
It smells like oh gosh, not like an Archives. What the heck? Like one of the early omnibuses.
Like a Mando 85.
yeah.
Ah, fantastic! What a vintage.
yeah. DC 86
the hell,
issue.
we've lost control here.
Don't get me started on books from the early Bronze Age. I just sniff those like they're cocaine.
Oh my
Holy
goodness.
mackerel.
Meanwhile, we're going to have respiratory problems when we're 70. The only thing I wanted to mention was other things I've read. I was catching up on Batman a little bit. I got much farther behind on that than I thought. So I read, what was it called? The War of Jokes and Riddles. Mm-hmm. I read that entire storyline.
Did you get to issue 32, the second and third page, and see
the spread with all the.
Did you hear Tom King talk about that in the last episode? You listened to it? Okay.
No. I saw him post that.
But did you listen to
I
me
didn't
talk to
listen to
Tom?
it.
I do.
I didn't listen to it yet.
And do for you kids, and this is the thanks I get.
Yes, I didn't listen to it
They
yet.
talked about us on
I know, I didn't get there yet.
So are you going to allow us to listen to it then?
Yeah. Am I now allowed to, or am I banned?
I asked you to listen to it. You had one thing to do. Listen to the.
So it was a good, fun storyline. Some things much more different than I thought were going to happen. Interesting twists on how to get Joker and Riddler to talk with Bruce Wayne, of all things, instead of Batman. That was a lot of fun.
How about
Kite Man?
Hell yeah!
Oh my God, yeah. Gosh, he was pivotal in that story.
He was.
I also caught up on Justice League of America, reading the whole Crisis in Microverse. That was kind of interesting. Not as good as I was hoping it would be. I thought it would feature everybody a lot more, and everybody in the Justice League of America had something to do throughout the story.
So this is the series that Steve Orlando's writing?
Not the main Justice League, the Justice League of America.
Right.
Batman got the team together, kind of with Lobo and all that. It was fun. Not my favorite story that they've done so far in that, but it was still a good read. I was trying to catch up on the Dark Knights, and I read, what are we up to? Issue 3 and 4, and I read Batman Lost. I still haven't read all the ancillary titles that I've been getting with that as well, but that'll come in time.
And, of course, you got to listen along with the Daily Rios.
Which I haven't been doing that either.
Yep,
I got to
breaks down each issue for us.
But
I have to do that as well.
But this Batman Lost, it was an interesting issue. I really didn't. To a certain extent, I don't know what to expect with this Dark Knights stuff going on. They've been interesting. Some of them have been okay, or some parts of it. But the Batman Lost issue was fun in that you really start off with Bruce as a grandpa. And it goes through a very interesting story to come through to make sense, to be tied into the whole Dark Knights story. So, yeah, it was neat. I would recommend if you're enjoying the Dark Knight's main title, this might be one that's more interesting than just some of the other crossover things that are out there. And yeah, that's about it.
So we've got Batman Lost from Shane and Hawkman Found from Chris.
Yeah,
covering all the bases here.
And one other thing I wanted to point out, I wanted to give another quick shout out. To go back to that Planet of the Apes Ursus book, I love when creators do this. There's a guerrilla sergeant in the story, and his last name is Monk. And I like how Walker's doing a shout out to Doug Monk's classic run on the black and white Marvel Planet of the Apes magazine there.
Yep.
So well done, Mr. Walker.
And I think that's what Chris and I are going to call ourselves now, Lost and Found.
A buddy cop film?
That's right.
I love a good buddy cop.
Can I continue on a little bit? You have
Sure.
Okay. We got to talk about the things we've read and so forth?
Yeah, I'm good.
Are you spent?
I'm good. Yep, I'm spent.
You raised your finger there.
Can we say a few words about the Black Lightning pilot, if we've all seen it?
I have
Certainly.
seen it.
I have not seen it, but you can spoil it. Go ahead.
Tremendous. It's going to be on again in about an hour and a half of recording this. I'm going to watch it again tonight.
Oh, they're going to rerun the pilot?
Well, no, I'm sorry,
they
the
did that
next
on-
episode.
Yeah,
They
I
did
thought it was
that
gonna be
last
new.
Friday, actually. They did rerun it on Friday night.
Oh, good.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I bring this up, of course, and now I have to be ashamed here, but I've seen it. I watched my grainy VHS recording of the pilot, but I went into the comments thread on the CGS forums, and here's this name coming up again. Peter already got there, and he summed up my thoughts for me better than I could have done it myself.
Yeah,
so
he really did.
I have no choice but to quote him here. His favorite thing about the pilot, and mine too, was it's not for me. All right, this was written and directed by a black man for a black audience, featuring a majority black cast, and those of us in this conversation, the best we can hope to be is like guest observers of this situation, and I am loving that about this. And then Peter said that he's also looking forward to the Black Panther movie for similar reasons. These are black creators and performers bringing a superheroic vision of their own to the big screen. The CW, to their credit, has just allowed them to alter the usual tone of the CW superhero shows as much as they want. It's visceral, it's violent, there's a certain amount of anger being channeled through it, which makes the average viewer squirm a little bit at points.
A lot of hot button topics.
Mm-hmm. No, it's not shying away from those at all.
No.
And you know what? One of the things that makes it even more interesting for me and more revolutionary, considering that it's on the CW, is that it's not only a black protagonist, it's an older protagonist, since the CW is the most youth-obsessed of all the major broadcast networks. This is an older Black Lightning. This isn't him in his youthful peak. We're joining up with him after he's retired from being a superhero for about 10 years. He's a father. He's a respected member of the community. He's a high school principal.
They kept the Olympic athlete part of his backstory from the comics.
Very happy to hear that.
Yep.
But I'm not sure how old the character is supposed to be, but the actor playing him, Cress Williams, is damn near 50 years old.
Wow.
So to go with a character and an actor that age on the CW, I mean, they're really breaking their mold here on the CW by putting this series through and allowing the vision of the creator to be as strong and unstinting as it is. So, yeah, it's that was a very impressive first episode.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Well, now I have to go on demand and watch it. That's Murd, for you and Peter to say that. I'm on board. I got to check it out.
Well, and because it's on after Flash, Ben and I always sit down and watch Flash together for the most part, and we did last week, and we went right through to Black Lightning, and it bothered him in that it was unexpected for him. He's very used to the way the Flash universe is, just the Flash. He doesn't really watch Arrow that much anymore. He never really got into Supergirl, but he said, "Wow, this is really different." I said, "Yeah, it is, but it's good." I said, "Keep watching it," and I want him to keep watching it. It doesn't all have to be just fun and roses. I like that this is branching out the way it is to show what it is, and I get to be along for the ride to watch it progress. It was very well done.
While we're on the topic of TV, I just want to mention that, and I won't spoil, but I finished the Punisher series last week. Damn. One of of all the Marvel Netflix shows, and I love them all to varying degrees, this is one of my favorites. What I loved about it was John Bernthal's performance for Frank Castle. Because Frank Castle, depending on how he's done in the comics, sometimes he comes across as a very one-dimensional character, depending on how he's written. I think Bernthal does a wonderful job of really humanizing the character, while not in any way compromising the sheer brutality of the Punisher. I mean, and Pants will know what I'm talking about. The scene, the episode where he actually dons the body armor with the skull.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Like, some of the most brutal stuff I've seen. Like, they don't hold back at all. I mean, I think Pants, you'll agree with me on that.
And it was sort of a little bit of like a little of a ballet type thing with how the choreographing and everything of that one.
Yeah, exactly. And Bernthal, like, they really explore, like, what has so damaged this man, what has happened to him, and why he's, doing what he's doing. And he gives a wonderful performance. I mean, it's complex. He really brings the character to life in a way that sometimes I don't think they actually do in the comic, depending on, again, who's writing it. And I loved it. I thought it was well paced. Like, unlike some of the other shows, I didn't feel like it was lagging in any way. Some of the supporting characters were fantastic all across the whole cast. And I anticipated who they're going to make sort of his nemesis by the end. I thought that was well done. And if you because Shane, you haven't watched it yet, correct?
No, I'm behind it. I was going to add something to that. I have a non-comic book friend another soccer
How
dad.
dare you?
I know. That's on my son's one team, and I just saw him for the first time in a few weeks on Sunday, and that's one of the first things he said to me was he's watched all the Netflix Marvel shows. He's more caught up than I am, and he said his favorite by far is Punisher. And he doesn't know the stories like what we all do, and I certainly don't know all of them as much as some of you all do. But he could not stop raving about how great Punisher was. So now,
it was
even more so. I always take your guys' opinion to heart too. But to hear somebody from outside our normal viewing and reading fun, and hearing him just go on and on about how fantastic it was, I'm really interested to see what happens with that.
Yeah, I highly recommend it in general.
That's great.
Can I go on a little bit? You guys got to go, or?
No, go ahead.
I got about 5 minutes, Pants.
All right. I didn't have the chance to read too much recently just because I'm very lazy, but I actually got a new purchase, a new toy I've been playing with. I have a lot of original art, as you may know, and I frequent the comic art forums, and somebody mentioned on there that there was a sale on this scanner. It was actually an all-in-one printer, scanner, fax. It was wireless. And it was 11 by 17, which is most of my original art scans. Because when I scanned things to put online, I had to do it in pieces and put them together with a photo stitch. And I got tired of doing that. And I stopped scanning pages and putting them online. This now, I got jazzed. I was scanning things left and right to get some real high res scans and things. And I posted a few images on Comic Art Fans. I do have a Comic Art Fans page under my name. And somebody commented on one of them and sent me a message. This is from Johnny McCloskey. He goes, I love listening to you guys on CGS and love all of your original art stories. Thanks for giving to the hobby. I owe you. So does my credit card company. Ha ha. And then he goes, also, I picked up a little sketch from a con for Adam. How can I send it? So I was like, oh, well, thanks a lot. Sure, I'll make sure Adam gets a sketch. So something's coming to the studio for you, Adam, at some point.
Thank you, Johnny.
I thought that was kind of funny.
That's awesome.
But as I was... Oh, I'm sorry, you wanted to interrupt there?
Oh, I was going to ask if you were going to mention the make and model of this scanner to the listeners in case they want to buy one of their own.
Oh, I can. It's probably off sale. But it was a Hewlett-Packard 7740 all-in-one. It was originally $250, on sale for $150. And I passed it by. I didn't have money at the time. Then it came back on sale, and somebody said, oh, by the way, if you buy it online and pick it up in the store, you get, at Staples, you get an extra 10% off. I said, sold American. So I did that. But as I was scanning my pages, I came across some pages that I actually haven't scanned before that I bought at a con from inker Steve Montano, who inked over Pat Olive, who I love, on the sensational She-Hulk. I have 2 pages from an issue 59 that have a whole bunch like B and C list of villains from Marvel. And it was really funny dialogue and so forth. And I looked at the issue online. It was written by Charlie Fish.
Well.
And I went, holy cow, because we love his work that he's been doing on the DC Scooby-Doo titles and so forth.
Mighty Mouse?
Mighty Mouse. I said, oh, wow. So I didn't realize he was around because this is from 1989. I'm sorry, 94.
First time I saw his byline on a comic book was Marvel's Ren and Stimpy show series.
So, I mean, I think I have this issue because I have some art from it. But,
wow,
that's crazy. I love that. So, yeah, I've been busy scanning my art like a fiend, going back and forth and scanning it and so forth.
Well, it helps when you can just do it all at one shot with the
new
equipment goes
wireless,
faster.
bada bing. So when I was watching the football game this past weekend, I said, so that's why I haven't really read too many comics of a recent. So that's why I was kind of quiet and enjoying what you guys were talking about there.
And I'm sure even...
And I'm vamping as I try to play some more music here.
Even I do, when I pull out my art portfolio, I just ooze over some of it, too. Oogle over it.
You're talking over my harp solo. Just want to make sure you have it in Mylar so you're not getting anything on the artwork there. Once again, it's time for Muddle the Murd. We have a new piece of artwork that is now up for the prize. Right now, if you Muddle the Murd, we have an original art page from the second series of Action Comics post 52.
No, we don't.
Action Comics number 14, page 10 by Rags Morales.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
This comes to us from our anonymous art donor.
That is not nothing.
And this submission comes to us from Greg Dennehy. He goes, Pants, I currently have a career 1-1 record versus Murd. So here's my tie-breaker submission.
All right, see if the original G-Man can get himself over 500.
Question 1, Independent 2000 onward. The image book Low by Rick Remender takes place in a far-flung future.
Future.
Oh, my goodness.
Love it.
Knock it off, Pants. Where all of humanity lives in underwater cities. During the course of the series, 3 different cities are shown. What is the name of the underwater city inhabited by pirates?
Ooh. All right. Now, I do have this miniseries, but of course I'm years away from reading it, so you know this is going to be a guess, of course. So
It could be a yoink. Hang on to your wigs and keys.
Buccaneeropolis.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Paluma. P-O-L-U-M-A.
I was nowhere near that. So.
Question 2. Marvel, pre-1970s. In Avengers number 28 from May of 1966, the team has to rescue the Wasp from the diabolical clutches of what 2 super villains?
2 supervillains. Who? Well, I don't know. I don't know the answer to this either. But seems to me the criminal who most often wanted to capture the Wasp is Whirlwind. So I'm going to enter that as one guess.
By the way, Whirlwind was in that page of artwork that I have.
Oh, one of the...
Since She-Hulk.
Was the porcupine in it also?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Yeah, that might be the issue where the porcupine... Where She-Hulk confronts the porcupine with the fact that he's dead.
Yes!
And he falls over dead.
I have that page. That's one of the pages I have. Absolutely right.
Thought you did. Happy to hear it's in good hands.
Yes!
That is a funny moment.
Oh, I love it. But anyway, you're wrong.
Right, I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
Okay.
Let me stop you right there, sir.
Whatever else I say after this won't make it any less wrong.
Exactly. Chris, you have any thoughts?
Yes, but I don't think I'm right either. You said it was issue 28?
I did.
Pants?
Yep.
Okay. This is most likely wrong. I'm going to say Cobra and Mr. Hyde.
The Collector and the Beetle.
Okay.
That's an unusual team-up.
How about that? All right.
Not exactly in the same league, those two.
Going for the muddle right here.
All right.
Question 3. DC, 1970 to 2000.
Coming into my wheelhouse.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
In Teen Titans, number 46, February of 1977, the Titans try to thwart the Fiddler's plan to attack a Battle of the Bands concert featuring analogs of both the Carpenters and Paul McCartney and Wings. Name one of these 2 fictional bands. Bonus points if Murd can tell us what the surprise plot twist was at the end.
Well, I haven't read this either, so no, I cannot. So I smell a muddle coming on. So this handsome piece of Rags Morales artwork may be making its way to Greg soon. I'm just going to put it right over here in anticipation of that. Oh, boy. The Carpenters and Wings, and trying to think of a good synonym for a carpenter. The Woodworkers.
The Woodworkers! I apologize for yelling, but another yoink!
Right out of the basement of my Titans tower.
Wow!
That was awe-inspiring.
Oh, man.
Greg, you just
And
got...
the artwork is wrenched away.
You got robbed worse than the Jacksonville Jaguars, my friend.
Wow, you sure did. Holy cow.
The answer is the Woodworkers.
Wow.
Or Paul or Peter McCarthy and the Flyers.
Wow.
Plot twist. The Titans discover that both bands are made up of the same people but in disguise.
Oh, my gosh.
That was almost cruel. Holy mackerel. Wow.
Wow. That's
So I'll take the artwork back. It goes
just
back
unbelievable.
into the pile.
Man.
I am sorry that this doesn't help your win percentage, Greg.
Wow.
He's now 1-2, so
God, that's painful. And I'm just sitting here listening to it.
Oh, wow.
That's like you bail out of the plane and the parachute doesn't function.
Oh,
Holy mackerel.
man.
Sheena's having phantom pains for you, Greg.
oh my God.
But anyway, thank you, Greg, but please keep trying.
Wow.
You can bounce back from this.
Oh my.
Man.
All right. Well, unless there's anything else, I think that's a great way to wrap
Good
up.
end.
Well, there was one other thing I wanted to mention.
Okay,
Since
okay.
That just hurts.
talking of people named Johnny sending us stuff, Johnny McCloskey
Oh, yes,
sending
yes,
us
yes.
sketches. Over here at the opposite end of the CGS studio table, we do have several boxes of goodies that were sent to us by a forum member, Johnny Hates Chachi. So he got in touch with us a while ago, wondering if it had arrived safely. And Johnny, yes, it certainly has. These many boxes of New Universe comics that you sent to us are here right now. It's a near complete collection of New Universe. That Johnny's a big fan of that. He actually, his sign-off line on every one of his forum posts is Magnicante, which is taken from the name of the lead character of the Kickers Inc. series from the New Universe. So thank you very much for your generosity, Johnny. I'm sorry it's taken so long for us to give you your propers on the air like this. So thank you for sharing the joy of the New Universe with us.
Indeed.
All right. Well, that'll wrap it up. Wow. Once again, this episode was brought to you by the Dink Convention coming up April 14th and 15th in Denver, Colorado.
That's what I thought of, too.
Go to dinkdenver.com for more information and to order your tickets now.
We're the Spaceballs. Watch out. Visit us at comicgeekspeak.com. To send an email, the address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. To leave a voicemail, the number is 267-702-6642. Stop by thecomicforums.vanillaforums.com. Gee, I stopped there. And let us know what you think of all the stuff we've read and how bad John was robbed just now.
Greg.
I'm sorry. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. Thank you to everyone who contributes to the episode. Send in Muddle the Murds at your own risk. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.
You got it on Wednesday, and you was psyched about it going to the volume club. These guys will talk about it, everything that geeks love. From kicks and laser beams, opinions like the seasons on everything you read. And comics, movies, games, toys, artists, comic geeks speak, comic geeks speak, comic geeks speak, comic geeks speak, comic geek. Uniting the world's mightiest heroes. This is Comic Geeks Speak.
I felt the breeze from that yoink.
Worst East Fifth. 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 Worst East Fifth.